Dr. Susan Spillman here. The other day, someone asked me, so what is our true self and how do we find it? How do we know if we're in touch with our true self? And in some ways, this sounds like a simple question. Like, well, just look inside, ask yourself, what is it I really want? That kind of thing. And yet, often it's more complicated than this. Years ago, I loved this book called The Divided Self by the Scottish psychiatrist R.D. Laing, who is no longer with us. And this is kind of how I see it, is that most of us have some kind of a divided self. We say we want something, we say this is how we want to live our life, and yet it doesn't manifest quite the way we have in mind. And this could be subtle, or very often it's quite dramatic. So, for example, we say we want to make a certain amount of money, and it doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen, no matter what we do, no matter how many courses we go to, how many classes we take, all of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't happen. And the same thing with relationships. We want a certain kind of relationship or a certain depth of relationship, and it doesn't happen. And so what is this? What is this? And how do we understand this in terms of the divided self is how I see it. Of course, there are other ways to look at it. And so my view, and coming from really a lot of early influence from R.D. Laing, is that we have this divided self. And so we have what we want, what we say we want, what our intentions are, what we're trying to accomplish, that kind of thing. We have that. We may be totally clear about it, and yet it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And so what is this? What is this? So there are several layers, how I see it. We have what we want. Okay, what we say we want is up here. This is our conscious self. And then we have what I call our subconscious. Okay, and our subconscious is where we can get in touch with what's going on. We're not really quite aware of it, but we're semi-aware. So someone will say something about our situation or what we're doing in our life, and we'll go, oh yeah, now I see this. Now I can get it. I can get it. So that's like below the conscious mind, but within our awareness, kind of semi-awareness is how I think about it. And then we have what is called the unconscious, and the unconscious is truly unconscious. Okay, so this is the situation where someone will say, oh, this is what I see about you that's really a problem. Now, of course, that could be their own issue, but if it's the unconscious, if someone's saying something that would actually be helpful to us and our reaction is, who, me? That isn't me. That's not my problem. And you don't even want to look at it. You don't even want to look at it. You just totally reject what the person's saying. Okay, this is the unconscious. This is where you're so out of touch with what's going on at that level of yourself, of your internal self, that you can't even hear it, let alone do anything about it. So this is the unconscious, and this is really where we get into the most trouble, in that the unconscious and the conscious are just not on the same wavelength. And so the trick really is to look at all these different layers. What is it we say we want? What is it we want? What are our intentions about a given situation? What's the subconscious kind of context of that? Is there anything we're missing in what we're saying that we're aware of, or that we can get aware of? And then looking at the results, at what manifests. And if it's not manifesting, then how are we going to get to that more unconscious layer? And of course, there are many different ways to do that. And I'd be happy to chat with you more about this if you're interested. There are many approaches, on YouTube and classes people are doing, that kind of thing. Of course, my favorite is Fast Track Technique, which has been very helpful to me personally. And I just had a session the other day that was kind of blew me away in a way. I got in touch with stuff that I wasn't aware of at that depth. And so, of course, it wasn't pleasant, It hasn't been pleasant kind of processing all this, but it's so helpful, so helpful. So I invite you to look at these issues for yourself, and I hope this is helpful to you. Okay, bye.